Peace and love. This is a documentary that is entitled Addressing the Misunderstandings of Purpose Concerning the Moorish Divine National Movement of the World, or Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali, which is Prophet Noble Drew Ali's free national name. And this documentary will be done by TARIK Bay in time with this booklet that is coming out. And I would like to say this new book, but I have to clarify that because he actually wrote it maybe 20, 30 years ago. And the time for it to be published and released to the public is now. This date, which is August the 23rd, 2009. Thank you. Our first question is, Taj, this is addressing the misunderstandings of the movement, of the Moorish Divine National Movement. What, in your opinion, are the dynamics of those misunderstandings?
The first part of misunderstandings involves the people's lack of knowing world history. The lack of knowing world history.
Say it again.
All right.
Start over again. The person is what? No, you need to.
It's the people's lack of knowing world history and not knowing themselves, i.e., talking about us, not knowing ourselves. And part of that knowing of self is knowing what was our relationship with the rest of the human family, distinguished from what it is now. So let's look at our social, economic, and political conditions. And let's do some comparisons so that we can get a concept of what is it that we can do today to improve the conditions of our people. And what we quickly discover is that logically, from a political perspective, there are people who are in opposition to our rise or ascension. And then there's people who are for the rise or ascension. So logically, you have what is known as conflict of interests. So while you have people who are helping in the work of uplifting fallen humanity, you also have people who are working against the uplifting of fallen humanity. Therefore, it's like any other, conflict or fight. People often involve themselves in the areas where people feel most safe, because that's where the battle is. It's called deception. So we're going to touch on some things that reveal some of that opposition. And one of the things that I recognize that becomes problematic for people is when they run into these obvious contradictions. It causes confusion with them, particularly if they don't have a background by which they can wash away the confusion. Like when you understand a thing, you recognize conflict and it doesn't burden you because you can move it away. Not unlike you shooing flies away from trying to get your food. You ain't necessarily mad at them, but it's my meal type thing. And so, as an example, you'll see a lot of people just refer to the Moorish Divine National Movement as a religious organization while not really qualifying what religion is, for starters. Now, so when you deal with people who have been what you call under occupation by foreign government, and particularly let's deal with our situation. We've been under occupation by the Christian nations for quite a while. Therefore, the prominent religious perspectives that the people have is usually referred to as Christianity. Now, by the people not knowing history and not knowing that the European nations, persons of European nations, up into the mid-1800s were always referred to as Christians politically. As a matter of fact, very often they didn't even use necessarily national names. They simply referred to Europeans as Christians, and Asiatics, or what you call African, as Moors or Muslims. Now, you understand in anthropology, that would be a categorization relative to social political system versus religion as people perceive religion to be today. And you know, people's perceptions of religion today is generally whatever they may worship, or the images of things or persons or beings or concepts of beings or abstracts that they worship. They may give them names. However, the fundamentals that people are looking for, whether they pray and worship, and that's the perceptions that people have generally of religion, particularly in North America. Do we agree on that? Therefore, when many people refer to the Moorish Divine National Movement as a religious organization, 9 times out of 10, the average person who hears that, their mind goes to some worship system, meaning, again, that religion has not been qualified. And so the general acceptance is who we worship. And then somebody says Allah, and everybody's on, and here you go. However, that's not Islam, and really the ancient Moors didn't worship anything. They were scientists. They dealt with the study of the universe. And what you would call, if there's anything that was given veneration in the idea of what people call worship, it was actually the acknowledgement of woman and the life of the species called man coming through the womb of woman, that's referred to as the Stargate. And honor and veneration was logically given to mother. And this is where you get your principle of your matriarchy or your matrilineal system of government, that which is in harmony with nature, conjoined with the forces of nature that are in the universe or in the cosmos. And logically, that is what you call fathering that which is. All right, the paternity or the process of maturation coming from the womb of woman into physical life, and then traveling through the planet, i.e. with things that we do, we learn as we evolve, etc. Which of course is why nations are called mother, land is called mother, the flag, which is the national standard, which is called mother, etc. But not getting too far off the first level of what we want to present is when you're talking in that area, logically you started getting, when you start talking vexillology, which is, you know, flags and national standards, you're starting to imply self-authority or government, etc. And logically, a conquered people are subject to those things being removed. Therefore, those who conquer do not want those subject matters on the table, because that's counter to colonial powers. So it is not in the interest of those who are conquering, for those who have been conquered, to deal with the subject matters or those things that are interest that deals with their hereditaments, corporal or incorporeal. That means inherited lands, inherited estates, inherited property, wealth, etc., etc., right to self-authority, governing structure, etc., control of resources, etc. So when you look at the Moorish Divine and National Movement, it deals with these matters of restoring those things to a people who have lost their grand estate. And logically, you don't take a people who don't know the principles of government and just give them an estate. They'd lose it. They'd give it back because they don't know the rules of the game. Therefore, they must learn certain fundamental truths in civilization that are key and necessary to make them better citizens, so that they, whatever